Hey neighbor, listen. I let some folks get my nature all upset, and now I got to make up for it with a sweet treat. Okay, something I've been promising you for a while. Let's put together some cookie mix to have in a jar to put on your shelf. Now, the great thing about this cookie mix is that there are so many variations of cookies that you can make with this cookie base that it is so well worth it. So we're gonna make this mix today, and then we're gonna make some double chocolate chip cookies. Okay. So here are the ingredients. And while we are putting this together, I'm going to tell you some things about your cookie mix so that I don't miss them at the end. So we're using all-purpose flour instead of your self-rising flour because we're adding our salt and our baking powder right to it. Okay. Also, we're using our shortening always because that is the way we can put our mixes on the shelf. Your shortening in itself is shelf stable. So of course, when we add things to it, it doesn't make it go rancid. This mix, unlike our other mixes, contains sugar, and so it has a shorter shelf time. Okay, so you're only going to get about 6 weeks of this on the shelf, and by the time we finish mixing, you're going to end up with about 8.5 cups of cookie mix. And for each cookie recipe, you're using about 2.5 cups of cookie mix to make a couple dozen cookies. Okay, and so that's about 4 servings of different cookies, which I'm going to give you 4 different recipes so that you can make all 4 cookies. Okay, so our flour, it's regular sugar. Yes, you can use raw sugar. I have never used sugar substitute, so I can't speak for that. But regular sugar is fine. Raw sugar is fine. Also, a note for your baking powder. Listen, if your outside of your baking powder container has changed colors, like at grandma's house, because it was so old, it doesn't. Go ahead and get some new baking powder. Okay, we want it to be as effective as possible. This is one of the few things that come spice aisle wise that I say will expire, and you'll know because you won't get as much lift when you have an older baking powder. Also, with your salt, I am a kosher salt fan, but for the cookie mix, I just use regular salt because it is finer. And it just happens to work better, but you can use your kosher salt if you choose to, but you're going to make sure that it is ground fine. Now, your shortening is just hydrogenated oil. Okay. That's it. You can switch the shortening that you want. You can get a plain one. You could get a butter flavored one. I have used a butter flavored before and it's pretty good. But for like these cookie mixes, I like a regular plain shortening because I add so many different things into the mix itself that it just kind of works better if it's just a plain shortening. And just like before in our other mixes, we are just going to cut our shortening into this flour, sugar, salt, and baking powder until we get a really cool sandy texture and everything is well incorporated. Give me a sec. I'll show you what it looks like. Use your hands just to get that sandy texture to make sure everything is nice and incorporated. Don't go telling people you saw me with gloves on. Okay, because I'm sharing my cookies. I'm going to be using the gloved hand to fill it up. This is prep for making the cookies later on, but this is definitely a great mix for you to have on the shelf, especially if you have a sweet tooth, but you want it available, but not, like readily available so that you don't maintain too much of your fluffy. We're trying to maintain our fluffy, but reasonably. So that is our cookie mix. This is a 1/2 gallon jar that it is going in. Like I said, this ends up being about 8.5 cups. So this is a full 4 batches of 2 dozen cookies. All right. All that in there. And it was just those few ingredients. Just like everything else that we put on our shelf, you are going to label this. If you're going to keep it out on the shelf for the 6 weeks that you have it, it is really beneficial to just put your airtight sealer on it every time. Less air is going to keep it as delicious as it should be. If you want to try to keep it a little longer, you can also store it in the refrigerator. That'll keep just as well. But 8.5 cups of ready to make cookie mix. Now, our first cookie, don't forget, you're going to label. You're going to label so that you know what it is. Our first cookie is going to be our double chocolate drops. Okay. So once you get your mix made, so you're prepared for our next round of cookies, you're going to need semi-sweet chips, and you're going to need some of your favorite nuts, almond, pecan, walnut, one of those. Okay. Milk and egg. All right. So work on the mix. Just know that the cookies coming up next are going to be your double chocolate drops. Okay. All right. One more mix to add to your pantry shelf. We're putting shit on the shelf. Okay, neighbor, I'm going to talk to you.